Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet Rayne. And today with me, my guest is Mello Mitchell, who has done martial arts training, which led him to meditation and immersion into self-healing. During his journey, he experienced a spontaneous physical healing and spiritual awakening, which changed the course of his life. He now sees and appreciates life more fully, finding beauty in everyone and every situation. And so this has led him to understand that we're all here for a higher purpose and we should use this time to learn and grow. And so he does meditation classes and sessions. He has a military background and lots of cool information. So I just welcome to the show, Mello. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate having the opportunity. Yes.
I love that. Well, you talk about a spiritual awakening, and I think since us experiencing COVID, I feel like lots of other people today listening are experiencing this and really don't know what a spiritual awakening is or what's happening. So share with us a little bit about your spiritual awakening and your journey that led you to understand this higher purpose.
All right. So I was, kind of like plugging along, a wife, kids, the job, traveled a lot. I was in sales, high pressure job, and, always busy and a lot of pressure. And my daughter, I had two children, and my daughter wanted to join martial arts karate class. So I said, sure, I'll do that with you. And by then I was like 48 years old and she was like 5 years old or something like that. And so I said, sure, I'll do that with you. And I ended up meeting this Kung Fu master who could do some pretty amazing things. And I knew nothing really about, self-healing or energy work or anything. I was type A, corporate, the whole thing. And so, when I met him, he suggested doing a few things, meditating, reading some prayer every morning that he gave us, and doing something selfless every morning, and it would help you get better martial arts, because his concept was you could defend yourself physically, mentally, or spiritually, and each level was a higher level of defense. So I said, okay, I'll give this a try. I wanted to get better in the arts. And so I did exactly what he said. Seems pretty simple. I had a Christian background, but life was never put to me that simple of how you can do things better and raise yourself up. But he never talked about it like that. He just said, just go do this stuff. He told me in 2 minutes, go do this, and that's it. So I did it, and one day I had an injury. A few months later, I had an injury in class, and I came home and got in the shower, and I asked for a healing of my wrist because it was pretty immovable, and so it spontaneously healed, and pain went away, mobility came back, but more importantly, this energy kind of like washed through me. And it just took me to my knees, and I wept like I never knew was possible. And at that time, I realized that there is this power that's much greater than us. And it helped. It kind of like woke me up, and it said, we're all here for a higher purpose, and we're all just actors on this divine stage. Those are kind of like words that stuck with me. And ever since that experience, I just saw things. I saw things differently. I started going inside and looking at myself and understanding the challenges that I had emotionally and mentally. Because I had anxiety and rosacea and sinus infections and all those kind of things on a regular basis. And so I just kept meditating more, trying to figure out what the heck happened. It's not something you just read in a book and say, hey, you just got woke up. Now here's what you do, or here's why it happened. And so I just kept trying to find out more about what was going on. And then I realized there's this thing called enlightenment. And I go, oh, I guess I got put on some path that I didn't know existed. And so I just kept at it, but life started changing. I started seeing everything differently. And when you start seeing you could be more aware. So that awakening that you talked about, it helped me become more mindful of life and a higher purpose, at least for me, right? Everybody's going to have a different experience. But I realized that, all of us have our stuff. And if you figure out your stuff and see your stuff, it's easier to see the stuff in other people. And so if you can learn to become compassionate with yourself and respect yourself and dig deep inside, and you realize everybody's got the same opportunity and the same challenges. And so you could be more compassionate with others, and you could be more mindful with others. And so relationships start improving, and all the tension that you had in relationships starts over time dissolving, right? So yeah, that was kind of like a short story of my awakening.
No, I love it because I came from the corporate world, right? You're of my generation. I believe, my parents taught me, you go to school, you work hard,
Right.
you do all these efforts, you try to climb that ladder of success. It's about, what you have and what you collect and who you are and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And I think a spiritual awakening kind of shakes us to our core because it says,
yeah,
really what you're chasing, what you're trying to do is not what you're here to do.
yeah,
And it's frightening for a lot of people because
yeah,
they're like, wow, this isn't what I've always done or known or
yeah, yeah,
expected, right? And
yeah,
so I think when people have that experience, you're right, there's not a book or a place that you go that says,
yeah,
Mello, this is going to happen to you and this is why it's happening.
right,
And if you think about it, that karate instructor, if he would have give so much insight, the experience probably wouldn't be the same because we
right.
have to experience it in our own timing, in our own
Right.
way.
That's
Um,
right.
right, which
That's
makes the
right.
big difference. And I know
Right.
lots of people are going through things like, they wake up one morning and things look different. They don't want to do the same job that they did before. They don't want to live in the same place. They don't want to have the same relationships. And it really does shake us up a little bit,
Yeah,
right? And
it
change
does.
kind of our perspective. So
It does.
I think I think it's helpful to hear other people's stories because I think sometimes when we're going through this, we feel like we're the only ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, in my case, I never even thought about being the only one. I just realized that, wow, this was huge, and I'm clueless about what this means. No institution ever prepares you for this, no education. But I got a wife, I'm supporting kids, family, hockey games, baseball games, dance lessons, the whole enchilada. And you go, what do you do now? But what was interesting is, you used to, or at least for me, I lived in the corporate world. You wanted to increase your income, you wanted vacations, you wanted a family, you got to support your family, you wanted a career, and all of that shifted, and I stayed in my position. But all of a sudden I realized I can do all that stuff not for myself, but I could do it for my family. And so I stayed doing what I did for a number of years because I knew that environment provided a lot of triggers, and those triggers pulled stuff up in me that I needed to see so that I could let it go. And by the time I then left the corporate world, I was in a much, much different place emotionally and mentally, and a lot of things had peeled away. And so in my case, I didn't have to pack up and leave and walk away from everything. It shifted my perspective of what to do with what I already had and let me continue through that, but do that with a different level of awareness and a different focus.
I love that. But I also meet clients and people that they have this corporate, this business job, this whatever. and they have a hard time doing what you did, which I think
Yeah.
the universe set you up to be able to continue. And you
Yes.
may have had impacts on people that you worked with that you didn't
Yes.
even realize, right? Being in
Absolutely.
that place.
Absolutely. Yes.
But sometimes I have clients that come to me and they're like, I get nauseous thinking about going to work. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to
Yes.
do this. Like my passion is now, excuse me, moved to this, right? And I think spirit knows enough about where we're at and what's happening, or
Mhm.
universe, to know what direction to take us in. But
Absolutely.
one of your big things that helped you was meditation. And
Yes.
what I find with lots of people is they're very resistant to meditation. They don't understand it. They
Mhm.
don't know how to do it. They feel like they can't do it. They put up all these blocks. And I know you teach meditation. So, what would you share with people today about the importance, and, what is meditation and how do you meditate effectively?
Boy, that's a big question. So
It, it is.
that's a big question, and we can run out of time on that one. But very simply, and it's easier to speak about than to do, right? But it's being aware, being mindful of the moment. It's forgetting the past and the future. I mean, literally minutes before and after, and it's just being focused on the present and finding that present place. And there's ways of doing that, whether it's through music, through focusing on a candle that's a flame burning, whether it's focusing on a deity, using malas. There's just a variety of ways that you could bring yourself to that place. And the more you do it, it's just like anything else. If you want to learn how to dance, it takes years to learn how to dance really well. And meditation is no different. I mean, it's a birthright that we have to be able to meditate. Everybody has a capacity. And so you have to find the meditation that's best for you. There's moving meditations. That's a nice yoga is a nice moving meditation if you perform it that way. There's walking meditation. There's just everything in life can become a meditation. There's peeling a potato is a meditation. If you choose to be aware and mindful and be in the moment of how you're peeling a potato instead of, I got to get this potato peeled. So life can be, you need to make meditation a part of have life as a meditation. And that takes time to work your way into that. So when I do classes, I try to do things in classes that you could then weave into your life. So it does become part of your life. And then being connected to, probably one of the most powerful things was being connected to, teachers of higher energy that I've been exposed to, that the energy can really break through things and make shifts in you, just continual shifts that you're not able to do on your own sometimes. So, having assistance, I've found, has made a big difference too.
I love that. I love that. Well, I know one of the things that I noticed is when COVID came through, we were all required to kind of slow down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We were, put in solitude somewhat, most of us in our homes, and we didn't know what to do with that solitude, with that
Right.
stillness, with that quiet,
Right.
right? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going
Right.
5 miles an hour, right? I'm not
Right.
spinning all this energy. What do I do? And then I think we got an opportunity, at least most people, to figure out what stillness was, being
Yeah.
present, being in
Right.
that moment. And now we've gone back to life again, which means everything's sped up
Right.
again.
Right.
And it's really about slowing down a little bit. It's really about taking time, as you said, to be present.
Right, right. Yeah, and the universe, brought COVID around, and I guess I look at that as a way of, stop, folks. You need to just stop. You need to go inside a little bit and settle down and see what it's about. And I'm sure there's some people that did that and that came out of COVID a little differently. And there's probably some others that just blew right through it and went back to normal. But, it affected, I'm sure, a lot of people in some positive ways, but the universe wants you to just be aware, be mindful, and having that situation be presented to you like that, you don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So
you really don't. It kind of forced us to do that. And I love how you talk about meditation can be lots of things, because I think most people, and I talked about this on the last podcast because our guest then was talking about the importance of meditation, that most people think meditation is crossing your legs, sitting on the floor for 2 hours and going,
right. Yeah, not true. Yeah.
and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be washing dishes or washing your
Yeah.
car or
Right.
walking in this beautiful backyard that you have behind you and
Yeah.
connecting to the trees and spending time in nature. It can
Right.
be so many different things. And I think we make it more complicated than it really is. It's
Yeah.
not that complicated.
Yeah. And there's, I guess there's different levels of it, if you will. So I was talking to this one lady one day. She was in a class, and I said, "Well, you're meditating?" And she come to class, didn't meditate. I said, "Well, what is it? I have a hard time sitting down, this and that." I said, "Well, what do you like to do?" She said, "I like to go on the balcony of my apartment and look at the nature." I go, "Okay, well, next time you do that, that's going to be your meditation. Watch your breath, follow your breath, go inside a little bit as you're watching nature, and incorporate that. And if you just take things that you really enjoy doing and figure out how you could turn it into a meditation, then that's half the battle, right? Or find something that you truly enjoy doing. Research has shown that if you really enjoy, if there's something that you're really passionate about, like I was passionate about martial arts, and if you tie meditation to what you're passionate about, then you're going to do it because you're passionate about it. All right. And so you got to find the linkage that helps encourage you to meditate. Now, I was clueless that meditation was going to help me in arts, but it did. So there's that kind of surface kind of thing. But then, sitting for 2 hours, like you said, and just meditating, does something else for you, and it helps you go deeper. So, but you got to start at that surface level, right? Otherwise, you'll never get to a deeper level in some fashion.
What do you tell your students are the benefits of really meditating and making it part of your life? What have you seen in your life are the benefits?
Oh gosh. Well, in my life, it all these physical situations I had, acid in my stomach, pressure in my chest, sinus infections, rosacea, tension in the shoulders, all that went away, probably within, I don't know, within a year. I hadn't even paid attention to it. Then I reflected. I go, oh yeah, I've been had a sinus infection. That's because anxiety went away, and the anxiety and stress was causing the infections that I go to see the doctor about. And then it developed a higher purpose in life. It helps you be more productive at work. It improves relationships with other people, like you said, about you're probably affecting other people that you didn't even know, and that people started engaging with me differently than I ever did before before I was meditating. They could sense something different. People that were sensitive to that. But emotionally, and this is just generally for me and for anyone, your emotions balance. You don't have these highs and lows. You're just kind of like more level. So the anxiety gets reduced. All of the emotions, that guilt and anger and hate and those lower emotions, it can be dissolved over time. It's depending on how you're doing things. And as that happens, you start floating to the surface. And when you do that, you're happier, you're more peaceful, you're more thankful, you're more content. And you're more loving for yourself, which means you can be more loving for other people. As long as you're more compassionate and kind for yourself, it's a natural expression that you could then have for somebody else. As opposed to trying to be kind and compassionate to somebody else, right? Physically, your well-being changes, your aging process changes, your energy changes, you have better sleep patterns, and so those are kind of like just touch on the surface of some of the basic changes, and a lot of these are proven through research too.
I love that you say it starts with how we look at ourselves, feel about ourselves, see ourselves, because I think that is so important. And I think a lot of people miss that. They want to be this or that. And I always teach people, if you don't love and respect yourself, You don't love and respect you. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to love and respect others. And the
Right.
people that you attract in are not going to love and respect you because
Yes.
you're
Yes.
attracting in what you're putting out.
That's
So
right.
it always starts with us and how
Yes.
we look at ourselves.
Yes.
And some people have a hard time with that. And I think that's sitting with yourself a little bit and asking yourself some of those big questions. Why do I feel this way about myself?
Yes.
What do I love about myself? What do I like about myself? Right. And
Right.
sitting with that, because I don't think we're meant to be perfect. And I think a lot of people are striving for this perfection. And I don't think we're meant to be perfect. That's part of this experience. As you said, acting within this stage, right? What are we doing when we're at, doing this play or performance or experience?
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a lot of ways that we can improve ourselves, but some of the perfection is in how we see it. Right. So if we don't see the perfection, we'll never know, we'll never relate to it. So the more you do your work, the more you'll see the perfection that exists within you and outside of you. But you gotta do your work, because perfection is on the scale. Depression, anxiety, anger is down here, and perfection, you gotta raise yourself to be able to see at this frequency. So it just takes time to work through that process, and that is the journey of life. That is the journey of being on a spiritual path, of trying to see the perfection that already is.
I love that. So I also know we talked about before we got on here that you offer classes online. So anyone, anywhere can connect with you. Can you share a little bit about some of your offerings and classes and how people can connect with you?
Sure. So I have Zoom classes on Monday at 6:30 Eastern time, and on 7:30 Thursdays in the evening Eastern time. And on my website, mellow-mind.com, there's links on the event tab. There's Zoom links, and you just click on the link and come on in. And I ask for a suggested donation, but it's up to the people what they want to do, how they want to do that. And then sometimes I'll have I'll just say other classes, special classes, or programs that could be 4 to 6 week long, and frequently those are in studios or or occasionally online. But so those I also post on the website, when they become available. And then I'll do private sessions and work with people individually that are going through situations through meditation, or with some energy work as well, combining it within meditation sometimes.
Well, I also notice you do it for corporations sometimes, businesses that are trying to
Yes.
help their employees. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, some corporations, I mean, a lot of them, I guess, are trying to move towards, the next step in healthcare, right? And so they're offering yoga and meditation, and it's companies are raising their level of consciousness too, and you have to go beyond, jogging. You have to go beyond some of these things. When I was in martial arts, just to give you a quick example, I used to jog, just to have endurance. And I started meditating, and I started releasing the anxiety that you have when you're jogging. You're releasing surface anxiety. And when you meditate, you're releasing the anxiety deep down, so it never comes to the surface. So you're not getting triggered to bring it up. And so I slowed down my jogging. I cut my jogging significantly, because the tension was not inside myself. I was relaxed, and I had just as much endurance because I could perform what I needed to do in a relaxed state. So a lot of the programs that are out there are for stress relief, which are effective, right? But if you want to have a deeper level of stress and a more continual, peaceful, stress-free living, then you got to go deeper inside. And so I think companies are starting to wake up to some of that as well.
Well, I think our world, honestly, a large percentage of people out there are experiencing anxiety, depression, pressure to,
Yes,
we work
yes,
really hard and we don't take a lot of time for play. And
yes,
that's really a lot of pressure, and it affects us, our health, our emotional
yes,
state, our mental
yes,
state. So I think this is a great way. And, I love the fact that we're not medicating ourselves. We're
Yes.
really connecting with who we are from a base level in nature. So
Yes. Yeah. And it's really about being completely responsible for yourself, your mind, your emotions, and your body and your spirit, and not letting the rest of the world upset you. Nobody can do that except for you. And so at some time you have to say, you know what, maybe I got to do things differently. And then after that, it just, takes on a path of its own, and and things start shifting in a positive way for you.
I love that. I love that. Well, Mello, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with me this morning.
Very,
Might be
yeah,
the afternoon your time, but this morning
that's
for
okay.
my time.
That's all right. That's okay.
I'm in Denver and he's in Cleveland, Ohio. So we got some time change here a little bit.
No problem. Well, it's delightful to be here and to share some perspectives with folks, and maybe it'll be inspiring and encourage people to step a little differently.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you for watching Sacred Magic Podcast today. I hope you'll follow us, check out other episodes with our guests and other information. I hope I get to see you in person in Denver. If you're part of our Denver location, then I'll see you soon. But I hope everyone has a peaceful, magical, sacred day today. And I look forward to sharing with you our next episodes and shows. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you really soon.
Are you seeking an online spiritual education resource? Do you crave to know more about various topics of spirituality? Discover Your Spiritual Gifts Academy offers a wide variety of programs including crystal alchemy, tarot, the journey of the fool, Akashic record reading certification, and much more. These online courses allow you to learn on your schedule and at your own pace. You can find out more at www.discoveryourspiritualgifts.academy. Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.